That's rather great though. Like, huh?
Yeah, no, it was
like a moment,
in your
That's
face.
super cool.
Yeah, I'm really chuffed about that. Sorry, please, no one from George relay this to you know who. And I can often tell as soon as I've done the eyes whether or not the painting's going to be a goer or not.
And do you finish if it's not?
I make a rule that I have to finish everything unless it's like really, really, really bad.
But that's really good because then you practice all aspects of the process, not just starting. It's like
painting, varnishing, self-flagellation, full artistic process. Who was a adult film star and now Italian politician. My favorite combo. Hark the herald angels sing.
Glory to the newborn king.
Oh, I love that one. That's a banger.
Yeah. What I would tell young people younger than us is that in the end, sort of, not in the end, but all the way through, no one really cares. No one is like keeping tabs, And
what I would like to tell people younger than us is that he's lying. They do all care.
Cool. So for the very first time, we're sitting. We're recording from my actual lounge. I've apologized to Fanie for the massive spray painted sunset on the wall, which
I quite enjoy.
Which is very crass, but I did have it done a long time ago.
No, I'm feeling very sun-kissed and Caribbean right now, so I really appreciate it.
It's raining outside, like it's pouring with rain outside. It's the dead of Cape Townian winter.
Yeah, no, for the listener at home, it's quite a boudoir. There's a chessboard. There's a lot of like oakenwood, beautiful art. No paintings by me, I must note, though. That is something I would like to point out.
Something you'd like to fix, yeah?
Yeah. You better get on that. You guys get on the Patreon, get this man some money so I can get some money.
So level 4, hey? Like, I mean, how's it kind of affected you?
Well, I've actually been quite good COVID-wise. I got vaccinated yesterday. I think I'm probably... Am I your first vaccinated guest?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
No, it's really great. I can feel the 5G coursing through my veins. It's made me very powerful. That and the sugar-free Red Bull I almost spilt all over your recording equipment earlier. So, yeah, it's off to a great start. Loving level 4.
Yeah. For me, it's made absolutely no difference, really. Just got back from Zanzibar, where it doesn't exist.
Oh, good. That's the sunset, just memories of the beautiful East African islands.
I had no towel. I didn't take a towel, and none of the places I stayed at had hot water, but it didn't matter.
Good, great. I'm glad you had a lovely holiday. I have many towels and hot water, and I'm totally miserable, everybody.
It was so warm, that's what I'm saying. But so have you felt like... with regards to selling your art and stuff, like many people say, like it's people are decorating, people are doing their gardens more now because they're spending more time at home,
Touch wood, sales have been very good. I like to think that maybe I don't fall under the auspices of decorating. But however, if you do want something to match your sofa, please get in touch. I do some great rates, and I'm very pliable, and the paintings tend to be quite good. It's been very good for me career-wise. Emotionally, physically, for my physical person and my mental well-being, not that great, but people are buying paintings and they're loving them, and I can only encourage them to do so further.
And they're buying online more,
They're buying online. Luckily, I think, compared to some of my peers, the people I know, no names, who have been struggling are people who do work larger and rely more on their galleries and rely more on tourists or a more international walk-through trade, whereas I, from art school, I know I'm not going to immediately be like a zeitgeisty blue chip artist. So I've really focused over the last 5 years. I've been working professionally on developing a really great rapport with my clients, many of whom have become the client-to-friend pipeline is pumping. But I have a really great group of people who I now mix with socially, but who really believe in what I do and support me so much.
Awesome. Super cool, yeah. And it's so easy these days with Instagram and,
Yeah, with Instagram, with podcasts, with my... People
Totally.
just love this grating, lisping voice.
Yeah, people say my voice is great for podcasts, but, actually editing is like a mission because it's so drony, I have to edit out the low frequencies and all this stuff.
Oh no, you could really monetize, get the money for that painting of mine, do some ASMR videos. You get some slime, tap away.
What's that again?
ASMR is like people mumbling into microphones to make other people go to sleep, and you do like tapping, you tap the thing. I think this might make an ASMR thing, except my voice is anti-ASMR. We're like the yin-yang of vocal registers.
Oh, yeah, probably, yeah. So you've grown up in like Cape Town, or?
No, I actually, I've done like a whistle-stop tour of the Southern Cape. My dad's Afrikaans and my mum's from the UK, and they moved back from the UK here in 89. I was born in 93. They'd gotten themselves to a place called Gansbaai on the southern coast, known for abalone poaching and binge drinking, which to this day remain my two favorite activities. So I spent a lot of my time in all sorts of weird, small communities along there, but a lot of my high school and stuff was in George.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, George and surrounds. I went to P.W. Botha's funeral, actually.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't call it awesome, but yeah, it's one of the most insane things that's ever happened in my life, definitely.
Why?
P.W. Botha, I was like 12, 13 at the time, and so in George, there's a big Dutch Reformed church, which we call the Moederkerk, and that's where his funeral was. But then he was buried at the church where he actually attended, which I'm not going to dox P.W. Botha's burial place, like right in the beginning of the podcast. You have to listen through to the end. But
Okay.
It was across the road from my primary school, and we all had to stand in our little blazers outside. No one told us who he was or what he did. I thought he was just an ex-president, and it was only... before I dropped out of grade 10 history that I discovered that he's actually an awful man.
Okay. I don't really know much about any of that, but I've just realized who it is.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're learning podcast.
Okay, now I know. No.
This afternoon on This Rondebosch Live.
So, I mean, like, I don't know much about Afrikaans culture either, but... like you often hear like beauty pageants is a thing, you know what I mean? So it has that kind of that's where it kind of came from.
Are you talking about my most recent show, Miss?
Yeah.
Miss, which just closed, 99 Loop Gallery, wonderful review up on Arthrob by beloved Misha Krenor. You can check all that out if you get onto Google. I'm really sorry, I'm getting my money's worth out of this podcast. So Afrikaans people. Every day is Miss South Africa. If you're a natural blonde or natural blonde adjacent Afrikaans woman, every day is Miss South Africa for you. But it's something I grew up with. Maybe not more in the traditional Afrikaans sense. I mean, there are women be going to malls and participating in beauty pageants in Afrikaans world, but I grew up very isolated. And a lot of Miss South Africa and that sort of thing, top billing especially as well, who Basi Kumalo, who was Miss 94, I believe, is one of the producers. I think she even owns the production company that runs top billing, and a lot of Miss South Africa winners went on to be part of that sort of world. And it was just this window into that there's something outside of George, there's a beautiful, glamorous, stunning thing going on, and it's exciting and not made out of polyester.
Like beauty pageants like are a sort of like Afrikaans girls from like small towns kind of like them, you know. So I guess that's the appeal, you know.
Yeah, and I am an Afrikaans girl from a small town.
Yeah, it's funny.
Thank you. Yes.
So, where'd you study, and early influences and things like that?
Study, early influences. Early influences. If you want to go back to my first brisk with glamour, is my mother, consequently me as well, really struggled sleeping. So a lot of the time I'd be awake from quite early in the morning, and I was obsessed. Most of you might not know, but on SABC2, before the 6 o'clock morning television show, there's something called Agri TV, which is like morning television for farmers who wake up
like
to milk cows. Agri TV.
Agri
but
TV,
you must say Agri.
Agri. Makes sense.
Roll the R.
I know exactly what it is now.
And I forgot her name, but I was just obsessed with the newsreader, and she had like the frosted tips. This is about 1996, so you can imagine the sort of, it's not frosted tips, but it's like a very blonde, tight set curl that's sort of a little bit mousy and grown out, and there's a pucky, a suit, like a matching colour. I was just obsessed with her as a baby. So I've always quite enjoyed these sort of overdone women, traditionally camp figures, I suppose. High school, I didn't really do well in high school art. My high school art teacher didn't actually believe I got into Michaelis. He thought I was lying to him.
That's funny.
Little did he know I went on to win the award for painting.
That's rather great though. Like, huh?
Yeah, no, it was
like a moment,
Yeah, in your
that's
face.
Super cool.
Yeah, I'm really chuffed about that. Sorry, please, no one from George relay this to you know who. So I went to Michaelis. First 2 weeks, I was crying to my mom. I failed the first drawing project. Discovered along the course of Michaelis that I needed glasses, which really opened up the world. I actually studied printmaking and not painting. I had some amazing advice from Amy Sudin, who's still on the art scene, working more academically, curatorially, really amazing stuff going on. But she was a mentor, and I spent a lot of time uninvited in her fourth year studio, and she said, look, Fanie, by fourth year, you're just going to do what you want. So you find the lecturers you connect with the best. And Stephen Ings, who was director of Michaelis at that point, and then went on to work in printmaking, is just the most amazing, lovely person. And Fritha, I went from being afraid of to really wanting to impress to just really enjoying her. And both of them have, even beyond varsity, been the most amazing mentors and champions and supporters to me. So many of my lecturers, Svea Josephie as well, has really been following my career and helping me, and I know I promised to make her some t-shirts, and I will get to it, Svea, I promise. But yeah, that's Michaelis in a nutshell for you.
Yeah.
It was great, yeah, and I really discovered that I like women who wear lots of makeup, and I could make a career out of that.
I had lecturers like that. I'm kind of out of the music scene now, but I studied music, and I had lecturers like that as well. Just amazing people, and yeah. Anyway, just everything you said, but for music, not for art, you know. So so what is it? Okay, so what is it about gay guys being obsessed with women for their dress and stuff? If hypothetically, if there were the same amount of men dressing up in flamboyantly as women,
men, if there were the same amount of men, dressing up flamboyantly, yes,
then would young gay guys be obsessed with them as well, or what is it about
the women, the whammon?
Yeah, that you know what I mean, because it's.
Well, firstly, there's a lot of theory about this. There's a really lovely, I think the best place, if you're sort of intrigued by this beautiful mind setup we've got going here, Chris and I have set up, there's the best essay to start with. It's really easy to read, surprisingly, for Susan Sontag. It's called Notes on Camp, and it was actually written in the 50s, and it describes camp, which is sort of the overarching idea of this gay men fascinated by women for whatever reason, in as much as only very recently, I mean, for very many people, not presently, can we be openly homosexual and adoring these female figures who embody at one point the thing we all want to be, gay guys, which is attractive to men, but also have a degree of agency, and they to some degree overcome great adversity. If you think of this is in the Wikipedia article on camp, which for some reason has stuck with me, people like Judy Garland and gay men comparing Judy Garland to Elvis, like, oh, Elvis had pills and got fat. Well, Judy was on pills and got fat and got thin again and could still hit a high C or whatever. You know, it's about they are really, and I think also because there's a large degree of rejection from traditional masculine power structures historically. I mean, these are huge sweeping statements, and I did not prepare to present my theory lecture now. That being able to connect to a strong, even overdrawn woman as a character, even a woman who's in reality, if you think of someone like the charismatic preacher Tammy Faye Baker, gay men love her because she's like, she is a boss bitch. She's also a criminal. Anna Delvey, for example, she's another. I think Anna Delvey's a camp icon. It's about someone who can embody our desires and make it look so much better.
Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially good one, maybe a more recent one, is Megan Fox in Jennifer's Body. That's.
I think I know what you're on about.
Yeah, attracting all the jocks we want to fuck and then murdering them and eating them in the woods. Maybe that's taking it a bit far, but I think the homosexuals at home can really relate to that.
Okay, cool. Okay.
The homos at home. Sorry, I just thought of that. I think that's a catchy.
Yeah, it's catchy. It's a nice title, yeah.
Good, yeah.
for this, you know. What's That's not me coming out, by the way. So basically, is there sort of a like a connecting thread through all the things you've done artistically, like with regards to like process, you know?
I learning to paint, huge thread connecting all of that. I'm always technically I'm really impressed with where I am now compared to where I was in my graduate show. Actually, beloved Virginia McKenney, friend and foe to all painters, who is, I make a lot of jokes, but she is the most technically brilliant painter, and I hid from her through all of Michaelis because I was petrified of her. She does not suffer fools gladly, but I'm sure this has come up, and she said, you're using too much burnt umber. You shouldn't use so much burnt umber. It makes your paintings really grey. And I stopped, and it changed everything. And so really learning a lot about pigments, learning a lot about painting, and learning a lot about what it means to paint. So I've been branching out into sculpture and drawing and watercolor and installation, and how, even though these modalities are different from physically painting, they are still a painterly process in as much as they rely on the principle of figurative painting, which is what I'm obsessed with, where you're making something pretend it's something it's not. I mean, this also comes back to makeup and the ideas of camp, and sort of developing ideas around that, and how the more figurative or loosely figurative you can make something, the more accessible it can be as a metaphor or as something that operates dynamically as a cultural text. And I'm just saying that because I had a lecturer, Zed Retief, who said, if you're ever unsure about what to say in a humanities exam, you say discourse or cultural text and prattle on about that, and you can get away with murder.
But what you're saying does make sense. No, but what I was like, whoa, okay, you're academic. But what you're saying does make sense, you know. Like what we see in art, like informs it informs us about ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
And if something's more allegorical, then more people can have sparks that go like things that synapses connect in their head about it, you know. Yeah, I guess. It's not too prescriptive, you know. So you say you've been a professional artist for like 5 years, kind of thing.
I suppose. I mean, I started making an effort to sell my work in third year, which was 2015, which I suppose makes it 6 years. I mean, what's your definition of professional artist? I still have a day job. I work as a teacher 3 days a week. And those are 3 days those little children look forward to immensely. No, but I suppose I've been selling art for 6 years.
That's what I mean.
I
exhibiting as
really
well.
want to be a full-time artist, but I am a professional artist. It took me a long time. For a while, I just called myself a painter. I felt it would be too pretentious to say I'm an artist. And only recently have I been able to go on dating apps and tell people I'm an artist.
So that ties in with what I wanted to ask next. Like, at what point did you? Can you explain that that feeling of, you know, an emerging artist or an early artist or young artist just saying to the world, like, I'm an artist or I'm a painter now, and sort of take me seriously at that, like.
It depends. I think I've always taken myself quite seriously, or at least been serious in my own way. I know being tongue-in-cheek is sort of my thing, but I am quite serious about my career and how I'm perceived and how that manifests. And those of you who are a little bit more insightful will see this is all a carefully constructed web of lies. But yeah, it takes a while. It's not saying it for yourself. It's more when the world says it back. I think I really felt like an artist. I don't know. It just came to me like being a fag. That also just came to me one day in the shower. I was like, "Oh, you're gay." I'm like, "Oh God."
And it happened like all at once, you know? Like, before and after.
Definitely before and after. I can't pinpoint it, but there was definitely a shift where
you just woke up one day.
I've got to start taking myself more seriously, so people will take me more seriously.
Like, you just woke up one day and you're like, wow, this is what I do. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, like, do you feel you're at the point where you can sort of trust your own intuition artistically? Like, or are you also...
I do tarot card readings for myself once a month. I've never, ever felt I can trust my own intuition. I think I'm a very highly strung person, but I do know when paintings are good. That I can say. I can't always pinpoint why. And I always know how to do a good write-up. But yeah.
But halfway through, do you know like where it's going? You know, you can feel where it's going.
Even in the beginning, I tend to, in sort of portraits and things, I work from the face out, and I can often tell as soon as I've done the eyes whether or not the painting is going to be a goer or not.
And do you finish if it's not? You know,
I make a rule that I have to finish everything unless it's like really, really, really bad.
Wow, awesome! That's really cool.
But I will often finish things and then paint over them.
But that's really good because then you practice all aspects of the process, not just starting. It's like
painting, varnishing, self-flagellation, full artistic process.
I mean, I used to be interested in writing pop songs, you know. And you know, I could get, you know, verse and chorus, and then I didn't really, you know what I mean. I'd never really finished, and I think, you know, it would have been very good practice to see it out, even if it wasn't particularly amazing, you know.
Yeah, if it wasn't a galaxy of blue.
So your current studio now, like, is it a shared studio space, or is it?
I share. I mainly I can't afford to be in a studio by myself. Prohibitively expensive. One thing I am very proud of myself is that I think I'm one of the very few artists I know whose practice fully sustains all the costs of itself. Like, I'm not hot enough to get a rich boyfriend or have a trust hidden anywhere. So, and I actually do love being in a shared space. It's really great to be able to bounce things off one another and to have the dynamic of another person. Otherwise, you get to sort of be in an echo chamber.
Exactly, yeah.
I've really, the times I've had to work in my bedroom at home, besides being sort of like a very grim, ascetic experience,
that's the right word, yeah.
have not been very productive for me.
So is it about the energy, or is it about the ideas or the criticism, or?
No criticism. I can't stand criticism. I really retract from anything constructively negative.
Okay.
Unless it's from me, in which case I embrace it and continue. But yeah, I think it's about the energy mainly. I think it's nice to see what other people are doing. I'm very big on stealing with my eyes. I will, if I see something I like, I'll shamelessly copy the technique and see how I can incorporate that into my own.
Yeah, like cross-pollination, you know.
Yeah, cross-pollination is good, but I think it's less sophisticated like that. I'm quite a ham-fisted individual.
Okay. Yeah, I find that working with people, like, or even just going to a co-working space or something, it's like that you feed off the energy, you know. Even if you don't know what they're doing and they're not seeing what you're doing, you're not actually collaborating. You know, you just, there's that energy and there's that, you can't sort of just slack off, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, slacking off as well. Yeah, I'm in a studio with some very hardworking people who also work weird hours like me. So it's nice to know that we're all doing something. I really appreciate that in the space, and we've actually had a really nice, especially nice last few months together, all of us, which has been great.
Awesome. What are your weird working hours generally?
Because I teach sometimes, a big fuck up with curfew being so early. I usually, on days when I teach, I work at night, and it's nicer for me if I come home from school at like 3, then I'll have lunch and I'll go for a run and wash, and then I can come sort of fresh with my second wind into studio at like 7 and work until 10 or 11 and then come back and go to school in the day again. Whereas now I've got to sort of try and be at studio really early and leave really late, and then I omit that little 2-hour section of me time, which I really actually do need, and not having it like fucks with my energy, fucks with my mind. I also need routine. I need to do the same thing over and over again. It really helps me, that stability. Definitely.
I mean, I find that as well, you know. That definitely has screwed over people with like two, like, you know, transitioning and with 2 jobs, you know, one job feeding into the other one kind of thing, you know.
And everybody's got to have a side business these days. It's
like a rite of passage, like when you can say goodbye to the job that you're just transitioning out of into the one that you really want. You know, that's like a, you know, coming of age or something like that, you know?
Well, I hope to be able to verify that at some point, but not yet for me, unfortunately.
So the last question really that I had, that I ask people is sort of, how do you know when a painting's done? You know, at what point do you step away and you're like, cool?
When I fill their canvas with paint, I like, because of my style, it's very easy. If I paint too much, it gets really muddy and overwrought and not nice. So I sort of fill the canvas with paint, and maybe I'll go into 1 or 2 details and just get the colors and shapes right. But I try and finish things quickly and keep the energy quite strong, as opposed to really laboring over something. Also, I have a really short attention span.
That helps,
yeah.
I would be sort of agonizing over every last thing, and I would have to really, really train myself to, you know.
No, a big part of painting is just not giving a shit.
I guess. With code, incidentally, like, when the thing does what it needs to do, it's done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very standardized, you know, which is very freeing in a way, because I could spend ages sort of. As a kid, I would like rewrite things to get the handwriting nice, you know, like.
As a kid, I was sent to classes to improve my handwriting with Tani Anna Mary.
You did that of your own accord, or you were told?
No. My mother, Yeah, the word underdeveloped was bandied about, I believe, at the time.
Okay,
But
yeah. You didn't like to have like speech like stuff as well that you went for
I
classes?
should have, but as you can tell, I did not.
I went to a few elocution lessons, but you know, it was just too many ants in my pants to sit down and actually, you know, yeah. If you listen to Stephen Fry, who's like the best, you know, enunciator who ever lived, you know, his audiobooks and his everything is just, whatever he does is just amazing. It really makes language beautiful. He apparently, you could hardly understand what he was saying before he went to elocution lessons as a kid.
Well, good for him. I hope to one day. I went to drama lessons, I think because they were cheaper. So instead of...
Swimming lessons?
No, I went to swimming lessons as well. That's also contentious. No, I went to drama lessons, which didn't help me with my speech impediments, but it means that I can now project my speech impediments very loud. I can really make that lisp carry across a room. Yeah.
You know, what I would tell young people younger than us is that in the end, sort of, not in the end, but all the way through, no one really cares. No one is like keeping tabs, you know.
And what I would like to tell people younger than us is that he's lying. They do all care.
Yeah, no, they'll have judgments, but they, in the grand scheme of things, you know.
Everybody is against you.
Yeah.
Your suspicions are correct. I need you all to look in the mirror and say that to yourself every morning.
Okay, cool. Let's get into the pieces then.
Okay, let's get into the pieces. Mazel tov on the women.
Okay, it's coming out. Okay, we don't need that.
Keep that in. Keep that in. I write that. I would like to reinstate Mazel tov on the women. Now let's talk about my painting of Meryl Streep.
Okay, cool. Image number 1. Let's go.
What did I call this? Go to my. I forgot the names. I took a lot of cuck, guys. I need to keep it up. Also, this was not titled. So this is this is for my longtime client and current Fanie-based collection front runner, Mr. Kunrad. God, what's his surname? Isn't Lemuni. I forgot Kuni's surname. But I don't think Kuni also wants to be doxxed on the internet. But Kuni has been supporting and buying art from me since I was emailing him invoices from the UCT postgrad library where I wasn't even allowed to be using the computer. So he's got we've come to a point where we work quite collaboratively because Kuni he's an art director. He's very artistically minded, and we have very similar sets of conceptual interests, and we do get along quite well as friends as well. So this was one of his commissions because we both love the roles of women in cinema and how those punctuate our own lives and how those punctuate historical zeitgeist. So I've called this one Afrikanerdom Saturday Afternoon SABC 2 painting. It's a very early Meryl Streep role in that very 80s color grading where everything was sort of like warm, like a Ronald Reagan political advert. Yeah, I think this is one of my more figurative pieces, and it is definitely one of my better executed pieces. It's also very tiny. It's about 15 by 12 centimeters, so that's like a jumbo photograph, which means if you look at her face, that's the size of my thumbnail. I do have a big thumbnail, but it's the thumb that's painting the painting, yeah.
When I first saw your work, I didn't realize it was that small, yeah. But yeah, this one definitely stands out. I think it's... There's something there. It's like, yeah. And I requested this one to be in.
Yeah. This is one of the women. that have been requested for the show.
That's one of the women that you were saying Mazel Tov about, right?
I say Mazel Tov to all women. I congratulate them on their existence every day. Thank you, women.
Okay, image number 2.
Image number 2, this one is called Action Movies Made for Boys But Really for Gay Guys Who Love Outfits. It's, God, I hope I pronounced the name right. Elle Macpherson. I think it is, it's not Elle Macpherson. I always think it's Elle Macpherson. It's whoever's the whistling nurse in Kill Bill. Kill Bill, is one of the things that I've recently been getting into. I'm very interested in women in very masculine action movies. So, like women in Kill Bill, which I think is actually quite driven by women, but I don't think it passes the Bled-Shell test. Do you know what the Bled-Shell test is?
No idea.
Also not pronouncing it right. It's a theory that you need to see when women in movies, if women talk to each other, if they're talking about a man, how often they're talking about a man, and whether or not they're actually talking about themselves or talking about issues that relate to them. It's a very interesting thing to look at films and media and the portrayal of women in films and media about
being that if they're doing something
how often are women, when women talk in films, how often are they talking about themselves or talking about the plot of the film, or how often are they just talking about men? And Kill Bill, I think, does not pass that, because I think everything Uma Thurman talks about in that movie is Bill and how she's going to kill him. But you know what? It does what it says on the box. But I think a lot of the times with these very hyper-sexualized roles of women, I mean, they are sort of sexy for men. I think also about, you know, that Blink-182 album cover with the glove, the nurse with the glove, but those are also very campy images that really appeal to a homosexual sensibility. If you think of all of Jeff Koons' work with his ex-wife Ciccolina, who was a adult film star and now Italian politician, my favorite combo. He did some very erotic work, but even in that, she's much more. I think even though she's depicted performing sex acts and naked, and those are very problematic and debated artworks, I do think her sensibility is very camp, like her outre womanliness subsumes a heterosexual sexual drive. It's like she's putting on being a woman. And I think a lot of these women in action movies, I mean, maybe it's sort of some like libidinal drive that's been subsumated in the screenwriter's room. But they become so womanly, and that they become really camp. Like Renee Russo in the Thomas Crown Affair, she's a very good example. Also, I did not know that was her real hair. It looks like a wig. Everybody in Angelina Jolie in Gone in 60 Seconds, white woman with dreadlocks. I think that's if I get to choose one problematic fave, it's going to be Angelina Jolie, white woman with dreadlocks in Gone in 60 Seconds. She's amazing in that movie. But yeah, and this is also a very specific, like 1989 to about 2005, a genre of filmmaking that disappeared with the last big recession. Yeah, and I think it's just a very interesting thing to consider, and also a very interesting thing to consider, considering the historical role of women as objects to be desired, as opposed to desiring objects in portraiture, in traditional oil painting, in the Western tradition of oil painting, to be specific. Thank you very much, John Berger. Love your work. Rip.
I just want to say the title again after you've said all that. You know, action movies made for boys, but really for gay guys who love outfits. And I know, like, as soon as I read that, I was like, wow, I never thought of it that way. You know.
Yeah. No, that's I'm good. I'm good at my job. Thanks.
Okay, image number 3.
This is called Never Been to a Wedding. Hope to be going to my friend Jackie's wedding. Hope you're listening. Can't wait, Jackie. Love you. But I do. This is part of a series of champagne paintings. This painting in particular actually will be on show at Salon 91 from the 14th of July. Please get in touch with me for sales. I am online standing by. I think I really love... I'm a simple man. I'm from George. The first time I went on an escalator, I was 19 years old. The coupe champagne glass put into a tower, that just does it all for me. That's opulence, that's glamour, that's a desired lifestyle. It's also, I think it's a very lovely metaphor for the precarity of opulence.
Yeah.
And also I think it just translates so beautifully. It's one of those universal, it's like a Barth-style mythology. Like, when you see the Tower of Champagne glasses, you see the Ferrero Rochers come out, you're one of the ambassadors' dues, you're beautiful woman, and it's an immediate universal transport, especially in a globalized world where we all watch ads.
Yeah, that's amazing. What you said, like a symbol of opulence, and also a pyramid of power and things. You know what I mean? It's when you said that, I was like, wow, that's quite hard hitting, and I never thought of it that way, and. Yeah, that's amazing.
Soylent Green is people. Have you not watched that?
Well, no, I'm terrible with movies. Terrible.
Well, okay, sorry. Well, I hope people at home enjoyed that joke because I did. I'm finishing my drink now. Tinkle, tinkle.
Tinkle, tinkle. Me too. Image number 4.
Image number 4. This is every time I approach something delicate, I want to break it. This is also from the Champagne Glasses series. I think building on that idea of opulence, I think also considering a concept I only very vaguely understand but love to talk about at length, which is death drive. I always get really angsty around glass and big glass objects. Like if I see a glass coffee table, I mean... There are, of course, other allusions to glass coffee table, but every time I see big planes of glass, I just want to break them. I really do. Or if I hold a very delicate glass, I keep on fantasizing about how easy it would be to crush it. And I think that's also that beautiful tinkling anxiety. I hate balloons as well. I hate being near balloons because they could pop at any time. But they are so beautiful. And it's that juxtaposition that I think comes that these glasses are... transparent, delicate, temporary things caught by light and caught by liquids being turned into something very opaque, very static, very quiet, very sort of staid. I think that's a very interesting juxtaposition, which is what I'm trying to do with these... Excuse me, I've drunk too fast. Champagne paintings, yeah.
That's really cool. I'll dig it.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's do the next picture. Sorry.
Image number 5.
Oh, this one I love. So this is called Leftovers. I think it had a more complicated original title, which I couldn't find. This is a project that I've been part of since 2016 and that's very dear to my heart. It's one of the Spear Art Trust's many artistic endeavors. I think the Spear Nadat Hollard Group keeps a large portion of the creative industry in this country going, and they are doing the most amazing work. So I've been part of Creative Block. They give us a whole selection, a really broad cross-section of artists, wooden blocks, which we then go and paint on or do something creative with, and you come back and you get critiqued and they buy those back from you at a set price. Whilst the buying and selling and monetary value of that project is really great because it is almost a set amount that you can rely on every month, and that got me through my early career really, really strongly. But it's also a great opportunity to be able to one-on-one introduce and talk about your work with a lot of curators, gallery owners, gallerists from around Cape Town, all of the big galleries and all of the big I hate calling them big, but a lot of respected creative professionals participate in the program, and it's really a great way to bring together emerging artists and established institutions in a way where none of us are really losing face, because it's very hard. You can't really email a gallery and say, do you want to represent me? That's how to get blacklisted. So and what's really great is specifically Tamlin, who is the head curator, encourages me to experiment. So this painting was painted on cling film. It's a wedding portrait, cling film, and then I use a very specific brand of paint, which I'm not going to reveal lest anyone copy my exquisite cake icing art. It was the idea of making it's called a blaadkoek in Afrikaans. It's like a beer box cake. English people know them as beer box cakes. A beer box wedding cake with the wedding couple on, but sort of the way the cling film reacts makes it a really interesting composition and a really interesting disruption of the image. That's what I love about my painting style, and what I love about the process of being figurative is that in this process of essentially copying a picture, my subjectivity disrupts an originally mimetic endeavor.
Cool. Reading your titles of your pieces, I find it refreshing. You know, you just like, it's sort of spontaneously refreshing, your titles.
Thank you.
They don't have to be a certain way, you know. Okay, image number 6.
This one's very recent. Those of you on my Instagram will remember when I got lost on Signal Hill in the last bout of rain.
That sounds like fun.
It was fun until it wasn't, and then it was fun again.
That's very. I mean, that's quite cool. Like, I understand what you're getting at. Like, I've been in that situation. Yeah.
So I was in the mist. It was really cool. So the one half of Signal Hill that was over Cape Town was shrouded in like a really thick mist. The other side facing Sea Point was in sun. The sun was setting. It was beautiful. So I ran up Signal Hill and I went through to the Sea Point side, and I took a wrong turn, and I ended up going on the bottom trail around Signal Hill as opposed to the top trail, which is much shorter and quicker and brings you back onto the tarmac, whereas the bottom trail takes you into the military base. But whilst doing it, I imagined I was Academy Award winner Nicole Kidman in the M. Night Shyamalan classic The Hours, where she can't, because she's a ghost, she can't leave the house. She gets trapped in the mist. I can't leave Signal Hill because I'm a ghost. I get trapped in the mist. But it was really great to...
Were you running or something?
I was walking, I was exercising. I saw these, I think they're called yakas, which my housemate, my beloved Austrian housemate, really keeps on talking about getting as a Christmas tree, which I've never done, but apparently it's a very Austro-South African thing to do, is to decorate dried out... No, I think they're agaves. Agaves, agaves. I don't know what they are. Yeah, so that's why this painting is called Christmas, but it was part of a bigger body of work called Running Away, Running Towards, which was about using a very quick landscape sketch to try and capture an emotion I was feeling at the time. It was a big, I don't want to get into it now, but it was quite a turmoil-filled time in my life that I'm maybe still sort of jetting out of, and being able to find just one really gorgeous thing out of that day and paint it really successfully was a really heartening exercise for myself. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Image number 7.
Oh, I love this one. This I keep on getting the title confused. So this is Sometimes Symbols Have Meaning, Knitting Patterns, Precognition, and Huis, Genoot. This was for my second solo show at 99 Loop Gallery called Happy Birthday Jesus! ! Which was a sort of a Christmas in July show, which I think is a maybe not even exclusively Afrikaans, but definitely anyone who's been in a slightly dated church staple doing sort of a Christmas in July tombola situation. I don't know how you Anglicans feel about it, but in the Dutch Reformed Church we love we love pretending. But this was a show where I used a lot of found imagery from my friend the internet to draw upon to make these portraits that try and capture that Christmas doesn't really exist almost, that it's a really lovely, wonderful time of year, but whilst you're in it, it's absolute fucking hell. Trying to manage large family groups, catering, daytime television, keeping everyone happy, weird Christmas presents, and
family
also,
dynamics,
also on a deeper level, that sort of we have these ideas of rituals that punctuate the year, whether it be Christmas, Easter, Eid, Hanukkah, whatever these rituals are. And for many people, these are very happy together times. But if you haven't really grown up in a traditional close family, you're sort of trying to mimic something from a sitcom. And in that process, you have these images of what it could be like, and you try and recreate it. And that's where a lot of discord occurs. And that I find to be a very interesting source for portraiture and figurative painting.
Different people in the family's images of what it should be like.
No, more like a generalized media image of what it should be like. Sort of like a Charlie Brown Christmas special image of Christmas. Very much we all draw upon very American images of Christmas, because that's what the cultural sphere is dominated by. So trimming Christmas trees. I don't know anyone who trims a Christmas tree. We're having Christmas in the middle of summer. Why in God's name are we eating all these hot foods on days that are like 30 degrees and humid and hellish? We should all just be, in Ibiza. Christmas in Ibiza. That's going to be my next show.
As a kid, we always had a real Christmas tree, like a proper one, because my dad had a nursery.
Oh, good.
So he just went and took a tree from the nursery and brought it back.
My mum and I used to steal one. We lived near the pine plantation, so we used to just go in at sort of the dead of night and sort that out.
Okay, cool. Image number 8.1. There's two here. We're gonna do the whole thing on Instagram where you just swipe right and you get to the other one behind it.
I believe it's called Carousel.
Is it? Okay.
Instagram professional.
I'm not that good at Instagram.
Look, neither am I. I'm fucking coasting on my wits when it comes to Instagram. But this is part of a body of work that I've quite enjoyed. I think it's going to be difficult to exhibit because it's a little bit explicit. But one of the pieces will be up at the Joburg Fringe Festival. It's called Grimering, which is the Afrikaans word for makeup. I find it to be a very sort of sibilant manifestation of the whole makeup practice, that it feels thick and gloopy, and I think this translates into the works, which are also very thick and gloopy and viscous, and because of maybe their sexual nature, I'm sure we can make the appropriate connotations and allusions, but it's once again going back to the sexy to the painting for action movie. Oh God, sorry, the string's really hitting me. I'm just gonna start doing slam poetry. It's about how these very heterosexually sexualized images are actually very high camp, very sort of the bustiers and the velvet and the net curtains. And I don't know if you've ever watched Emmanuel in its entirety. Because unfortunately much of the action doesn't appeal to me, I can look at it quite objectively, and it's just so beautifully shot. The light, the glamour, the woman, Sylvia Castell is just so stunning. She is Emmanuel, Danish actress. And it's really sort of thinking about how, on the one hand, these are all very beautiful and camp, and they can be lovely, and I personally am very sex positive, but also the actual reality of the industry is quite grimy and horrible and incredibly demeaning, not just to women in general, but to the women who work in it. That I'm very pro the sex industry, and I think anybody who works in it should have the same rights and protections that any labourer has, anyone who sort of operates in any industry. But unfortunately that's not the reality, and often these people embark upon a career that's creates a lot of precarity emotionally, physically, and financially. So I think it's that sort of knife edge that I'm trying to dance on, and specifically thinking of the history of these sort of print publications in South Africa. Scope, Charles Bluchnout, a journalist, wrote a really amazing article on it that I think if you're interested in this, you should go and type into your computer and have a look and sort of consider the history of Scope and young gay guys and finding porn mags in the woods.
Scope?
Scope was one of South Africa's premier gentlemen's magazines for many years.
Okay.
Lovely. Shall we?
Okay, cool. Yeah,
next one. Yeah, I think I've covered these beautiful languorous women.
Okay, cool. Image number 9.
This is quite a recent work. This is from my very hell time sitting in my bedroom painting watercolors. I think there's one night where my housemate's gone to bed and woken up the next morning to find that my bedroom is covered in watercolor paintings of Annelien Kriel, who, oh my God, I love and would die for. She's amazing. But I've been trying to work, I'm very influenced by the work of Elizabeth Peyton, who works sort of minimalistically, and Kathy Lomax, who also has very much this sort of style of painting with oils, and how I can work wet on wet. These are all from vintage beauty adverts, and trying to consider once again that whole role of makeup, the makeup paint duality, and then sort of add a bit of a Shroud of Turin makeup wipe element. Also, like have you seen Stephen Cohn's works where
Probably not.
he's a performance artist who does very heavy makeup, but then what he's been doing recently is putting sellotape across his makeup and lifting off that makeup as a print and putting that onto paper, and then creating his face from the performance from something very intransient and affixing it down. And it's sort of considering all of those aspects of makeup, perception, femininity, magazine, internet, Fanie, bedroom, Annelien Kriel. It's all like spinning.
This one to me is like a, after seeing your latest exhibition, this feels like an iconic Fanie image to me. Like, and yeah, it definitely has that. I don't know if you've seen like those very old school like printed on actual paper like adverts.
Adverts on paper, yes, I've seen many adverts on paper.
In the 1920s, like massive.
I haven't seen original, but those I really do love Art Deco advertising. That's sort of very clear cut. Yeah, and I do. Thank you very much. That's a very lovely compliment. If you feel these are sort of somewhat Deco, because I adore Deco.
Yeah. Cool.
Lovely.
Okay. Image number 10.
This was one of the first paintings of mine that I really loved. It's of my most beloved person in the whole world, Princess of Wales, Princess of my heart, Lady Diana Spencer. It's one of the most iconic images that I think capture the sort of prism-like sphere of Diana, who really ties together all of my artistic interests. This is called a painting which made me think of what allegorical figures are, Princess Di. And it's about Diana as a person, as a woman in reality, was, I'm sure, very nice and lovely and tried her best, but nothing about her innately, I think, was very exceptional. But I think she used and understood what she could embody as a symbol, as a metaphor, as a person from a certain class, as a person in a certain situation, and really mobilized that for doing good and doing the best she can. And I think in her story and in the coverage of that story and in the way she died, she embodies a lot of cultural archetypes for us about what women are, what generally people feel women should be, sort of the contradictions of being sexy and having sexuality, and being mother, being motherly. It's all very Freudian, and I'm struggling to sort of put it into a really flowing sentence. I think I'm losing a bit of steam now. We've been going at this
But
for
also,
a while.
you didn't get the fact that you didn't get the idea she was a fool at all. Like, she was very bright as well.
She was bright in her own way. I mean, she wasn't book smart. I don't think she passed very many of her O levels, not even A levels. But she was intuitive. I mean, obviously, as an educator, I really think you can't test someone's intelligence through the very narrow way we school people. But she was very intuitive, I think. I don't think she was quite quoting Dostoevsky, but do you know what? Neither am I.
Yeah. As you go through life, you'll always come across people who are far cleverer than you,
Yeah.
You just kind of have to go, okay.
Yeah, and then you have to tease them for being gay nerds.
Gay nerds?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, clever gay guys?
I won't go that far. No, I'm being facetious now. I'm being facetious.
Okay, so this is a round of medium fire questions. Cool. Is it something you would advise young artists to cultivate early?
50% deposit up front.
Okay. Who's your favorite artist and why?
Me, I'm cute. No, my favorite artist, I think of all time, is Tracy Emin. I think she really sells the car, and a lot of her work speaks to me because essentially I'm quite. I relate to her. I really do. I love Tracy Emin.
Okay. Natural creativity or determination? Or what do you think the split is?
Determination, definitely. I think there are a lot of people who are much more creative and talented than me, but I've from working at poetry when I was a very young man, I think I'm very good at making the best out of a okay situation.
If you weren't involved in art, what would you be doing? Teaching.
I'd probably still be working at Poetry and George, but maybe I'd be the manager.
Okay, yeah. What do you think the most telling signs are for the future success of an emerging artist?
Having rich parents.
Because they can spend the time.
Yeah, no. I'm being facetious. I'm trying to get some quick cheap laughs. No, I think the most. I don't know. I don't really follow other artists my age. It makes me feel too jaded about myself. I think what one should look out for more than exhibitions or sales is how much media coverage they're getting. I think it's very important for artists to be interesting as well, because anybody can make good paintings. Anyone can do what I do, but no one can do it like me. So I think definitely pay attention to media coverage. That's very important.
If you could have any three artists that are alive over for dinner, who would they be?
I think I'd like to have Orlan and Francis Bacon.
My word, yeah.
And probably Andy Warhol.
Cool. Okay, so this next round is rapid fire. No think, yes or no. So you can't think about it, just go yes or no. There'll be 1 million people on Mars before we die.
Million people unwell?
There'll be 1 million people on Mars before we die.
No.
Work-life balance.
No.
One day people won't age past their prime.
No.
People should give up shaking hands forever.
No.
Art critics are a valuable and crucial net benefit to society.
Fuck. Hopefully where I live. Yes, especially Misha at Artrop.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
That's showbiz, baby. believe, at the time.
Okay,
But yeah.
You didn't like to have like speech like stuff as well that you went for
I
classes?
should have, but as you can tell, I did not.
Yeah, me too. Like I've went to a few like elocution. Bloody hell, that's so ironic. That is coming out.